I want to welcome everyone to a personal training series of interviews for ZG.com. This interview is with Bryce Jackson from Portland, Oregon. Hi, Bryce.
Hi.
First, why don't you tell the listeners about your background and why you got into training?
I kind of got into training like a lot of people who get into fitness as a profession through athletics and actually through idolizing my older brother, who was an aspiring amateur bodybuilder way back in the mid-'70s. And then I just kind of stuck with it because I noticed that the weightlifting that I was doing as a gymnast was benefiting me as a gymnast before it was even recommended. And I kind of stayed with it as a profession through college, even though I intended to be a doctor, because I found what I was doing in the gym was a lot more rewarding for myself and the clients, even more so than what I was doing with in the athletic training room in college with our athletes. And so I just stuck with it. I ended up with a bachelor's degree in health education with a bunch of minors and a lot of different certifications, and I've had the opportunity to write and teach personal training certification courses for 2 different organizations. And now I've been training, actually as of March 17th, it'll be 20 years.
Mm-hmm. Can you say which certifications you have? And you also mentioned that you were writing materials for some of those organizations. Which were they?
Well, certainly. Well, I won't tell you all of them. I had a unique opportunity in one of my jobs when I was teaching to actually get several different certifications. So I actually have 32. I'll tell you the ones that are most common.
Yeah.
I'm a certified personal trainer through the National Academy of Sports Medicine, or NASM. I also carry their performance enhancement specialist certification, and one that they don't do anymore because I think they decided that it was the biomechanics was a little too advanced, but they used to just call it their advanced level certification. I'm also a certified strength and conditioning specialist with the National Strength and Conditioning Association. And I am an adventure fitness certified trainer through Nesta. I also have an Apex Nutrition. It's actually not what they call themselves. They call themselves the Apex Fitness Group. And I have their certification. That's actually the company that I worked for 6 years as their curriculum director.
Mm-hmm. After having done all these certifications, don't you think it would have been better to go and study kinesiology or physiology or exercise physiology as a bachelor's or master's?
Well, actually I did. Like I said, I have a bachelor's degree in health education.
Okay.
And I have minors in biology, biochemistry, exercise physiology, kinesiology, and psychology.
Oh, okay. Okay. So tell us about your training style. Now that we know you're an expert, pretty much, why don't you tell us about the training style of your clients? What do you focus on predominantly when you train with your people?
Well, like most trainers, it varies a little bit depending on the client. So as a general philosophy, and this is why I call my training practice Real Fitness, what I want to make sure that we do is everything that we're accomplishing in each session actually has translation to real life. So I don't really want to make them stronger in a particular function if that won't translate to being stronger in real life.
Kind of like a functional training concept.
Well, that's part of it. Yeah, I guess that's one way to put it. Personally, I don't really like the term functional training anymore because it's kind of been grabbed onto as a marketing term.
Gotcha.
And like when everybody started using the term core, everybody that taught an abs class in an aerobics room started calling it a core class, and they're still doing 400 variations of a crunch. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I end up doing a lot of pre- and post-physical therapy rehab and a lot of what the physical therapists don't like me to call corrective exercise, but that's really what we're doing.
Mm-hmm. What about, what are the first things that you do with new clients? What do you put them on? Do you have them go through some analysis at the beginning? Some trainers even take samples of their urine or of their hair and send it to a lab? I had an interview previously with a person that was doing just that. What do you do with new clients?
Well, the blood sample or urine sample and sending that off to a lab, I can perhaps see some application for that, but you have to really trust in the lab to be doing what they're supposed to be doing with that. Mm-hmm. But I don't want to disparage anybody else's company because it really depends on what they're doing. I put everybody through a movement assessment, but we start with talking. I need to find out what it is that they're really trying to accomplish and why. How is that going to make their life better so that everything that we're doing, every moment of what we spend in each session is progress towards not just their physical goals, but what they're wanting those physical goals to give them. And then we do some movement assessments where I'll analyze their gait, walking or running, depending on their goals. And I'll put them through something that we just call an overhead squat assessment, which is essentially doing a squat while holding their arms over their head. And that gives me a good idea of strength and flexibility imbalances.
Mm-hmm. I noticed on your website you also offer online training. Tell us more about the format of the training that you offer. Do you online versus one-on-one or group or maybe boot camp?
I actually do all of the above, believe it or not.
Okay.
I know that the business gurus teach us that we really should specialize. We should find a niche. And that probably would be better for my business, but like a lot of trainers, I think I get a little professional ADD, and I like to do a little bit of everything. So online training is actually something I brought in primarily because I have several clients that travel, and it was a way for me to stay in touch with them and them stay in touch with me and really keep them on track instead of letting them kind of slide while they're traveling. And then it's actually been a very good tool for, you could call it a drop sale if you wanted to, for those people who, for whatever reason, haven't been able to afford training. It's a way for them to still get professional assistance with not quite having the same cost.
How do you do the online personal training? Do you do it via email, via phone, or through some software?
No, I do it primarily via phone and faxing them the nutrition programs and the workouts, though I'm looking at a couple of different software platforms. I did incorporate one for a little while, but it wasn't growing to as fast as I wanted it to the capabilities I wanted. Mm-hmm. And there's another that I'm looking at very closely, and it's looking pretty nice. But right now, it's I still develop the things the same way, and fax or mail their programs to them, and then we do most of the coaching online. That way, it doesn't have to be time dependent. Can we both find a time at the same time where we can talk on the phone? Although I do schedule phone counseling as well.
Okay. Let's talk about nutrition. Tell me how you incorporate nutrition into the activities with your clients.
Well, first of all, I make it very clear to the clients that I'm not a dietitian. I don't do any clinical nutrition. But I can work with their dietitian or with their physician if there are clinical issues that we need to deal with. And to a certain extent, we can even work with insurance, depending on the insurance company's willingness to do so. But nutrition, essentially, again, kind of like my training philosophy, what can we do to fit what you need for your goals into your real life? I don't get on a soapbox about you need to avoid this kind of food, you need to eat this much of that kind of food, because I've found over the years that I can develop the perfect diet, and a person will either follow it for a while and really not like me, or not follow it and oftentimes lie to me about what they're doing until we remeasure them and they see that they're not making progress. Yeah. So what's really going to fit into their life? Well, for example, I have a client who is their job is sales. They're primarily in their car 14 hours a day. Mm-hmm. So as best as possible, we try to have them create healthy meals and bring them with them. But the reality is they're going to go through drive-thrus. They're going to go to restaurants. So I develop a menu that incorporates that. I call it dashboard dining. It's not always the best choice that they could make, but it fits into their real life.
Yeah, I guess you can't expect people to change their lives entirely just to fit into a certain diet or into a certain nutritional programs.
Well, absolutely not. And in fact, the research bears out that the more you ask someone to change more habits, the less likely they are to comply, or even if they do, the less likely they are to maintain the change over time.
That's interesting. Okay. All right, let's talk about you now. What is your exercise regimen, and what do you eat on a typical day? Let's say, what did you eat today, and when did you exercise last, and what did you do?
I exercised a little bit this morning, and I'll do a little bit more later today. Today's kind of an odd day in my scheduling, so I'm splitting my cardio and my weight training. I've already